morning, everyone. Welcome to the Euro Trade. I'm your host, Mark Stalker D. I've been trading for 19 years, mostly in commodities. So we're going to have a look at, well, energies markets today because it seems like they are making a move to the downside. And we may take a peek at silver that has had some reduced implied volatility. So it might be time to re-examine trading it. But before I get into that, let's have a look at what crude oil is doing. So crude oil yesterday was pretty muted. This morning, I'm just trying to see whether we have some news or something. Oh yeah, okay, so EIA says world oil supply plunged by 1.2 million barrels per day in January on severe winter weather in North America, plus outages and export constraints that hit Kazakh, Russian, and Venezuelan flows. So, I mean, technically that should be bullish, but if so the other report is that the total world oil supply, they see it higher than the demand in 2026 versus the previous report. So that might be why it's falling. But again, I wouldn't really trust this immediate, because that's like a projection, isn't it? And yet the general current supply is actually falling short of what the whole world needs. So to me, that would be more immediate for a price reaction intraday. But let's see what they do. You know, definite drop here in crude oil. Now, I don't really trade crude oil intraday anymore because it's just not worth it. With like most days $1 a day range. RBOB is my choice of energies to express any sort of views on it, but I still use crude oil levels. So I'm just doing the calculations here in the background for gasoline futures. We definitely moved away from two evens, which was one of my areas of interest for this week. And then the next one from yesterday is 190, but I'm just seeing how much that's actually changed overnight, especially with this news coming in. So and it's going to take a little bit of time to chew through that data. And while that's happening, let's have a look at some profiles from yesterday's NYMEX session. So NYMEX session started here, and we drag it all the way down. Yeah, so we're sitting a little under the NYMEX value from the previous day. For those who are not familiar with profile, the value area is nothing more than a distribution curve. It basically tells us where the majority of the price action was contained, and that can give us a view of how the prices are moving today. So are we opening inside, outside of it, and by how much? Now we also have the London value, which tends to be less important on some days and more important on others, depending on the amount of movement. But we're below that as well. However, we did open inside value, then pushed very quickly outside of it. And now they're trying to decide what to do. And I am going to put the average ranges on crude oil. So the whole average range that we've been doing for the last 10 days or so. To the upside, we have the statistical exhaustion point at 66.18. And then to the downside, we have 63.26. So I'm going to change the color of that so then the lines are a bit different visually. And then the London ranges are a little smaller than that prior to NYMEX open. So we have a London average session range low at 63.73. And to the upside, 65.67. All right, the next thing is to have a look at some of the options levels that could come into play when the dealers start hedging. I just see the overall gamma state, which dictates how the price behaves. Is it crazy or is it fairly normal? All right, so we have 330 as the oh no, sorry, that's natural gas. Yeah, look at the right chart, D. Jesus. All right, so we have 65 evens as a gamma wall. Unsurprisingly, that's exactly where this move is coming from. At the moment, we're still in positive gamma, but if we go below 64, if this ends up being an outlier day, then that will bring that negative gamma condition where everything could start getting a little bit more whippy and crazy. So those are our points. And the final thing that I like to do is to have a look at the first hour of trading range for London. So you just look at where the high is and where the low is for the first hour, and that becomes something called the initial balance range. And whilst I don't necessarily enter just because of that, it provides an additional situational awareness of how the auction is looking. So is the auction strong? Is it weak? And how do we do that? Well, if something starts to fall out of bed and not too many candles are overlapping, that's typically a very strong auction, and we try not to get in the middle of that. If it's more inside bars, overlapping candles, we say that the price action is building structure, and that means the auction is not that strong, so both sides can be considered. Just kind of provides the overall situational awareness. For now, they seem to be doing a bit of a pullback here. But yeah, it might be a little bit more lively today on crude oil. Again, I'm probably going to be entering trades on RBOB at some point once I see something that makes sense. But yeah, for now they're trying to reject value. So maybe if crude oil goes back to this Globex VWAP, what is VWAP? It's volume weighted average price. It's kind of like a moving average, but better, right? Because it has a volume component inside it. And very frequently, a lot of the energies will be considering VWAP as some sort of a reference price point. In the precious metals, we also have certain companies like LBMA, which is in charge of pricing for a lot of the metals. They use VWAP as their reference point. That is a new thing, you know, before they had only time-based measures. But now, for example, copper usually uses VWAP at a particular time of day as the copper fixing price that is used as a benchmark for a whole bunch of institutions to quote copper and to actually use that price to run their risk analysis and a whole bunch of other things and quotations and you know. All right, let's see who's in chat. We have Jillian once again. Hello. Trade for pips. Mark Trader. What is the crime? Favorite liars. Anita Hampton. 31 Stormer. RLE 19. CP 101. Crude dude. Yes. Crude is rude on most days, but today it looks like it has some life in it. You got one screen or multiple screens? Multiple. You know, what we do, like I look at multiple products, right? I look at about 7 or 8 products generally, not every day to like trade. I will typically decide on 2 or 3 for the day and then kind of focus on that. But yeah, you can't really do what we do, where, you know, people are asking you about ES and NQ, and then also you have the streams, and then you also have communication with the team and a whole bunch of stuff. You just can't do that on one screen. You just find that everything is bunched up. So yeah, at the moment I have 5 screens plus a little Elgato sort of teleprompter thing that acts as an additional display, but I'm not using it for scripts and stuff. But yeah, this is live, so obviously I use that as a bit of an additional little display that I can put something on. But generally it's 5 screens, so I have 2 either side and 1 in the middle, and I've got my camera there. Right there. So yeah. And you know, I started on on one screen like most people, and then probably about 2 years into my trading I added the second screen. Then after a few years I added the third screen, and I stayed on 3 for many years. But then I started doing live streaming probably about 5-6 years ago, and it just wasn't enough. I was like, well, I need more. Need more. But more is not always better. You know, if you don't do live streams, if you don't have a team that you're talking to, if you are, you know, only trading one product, you'll probably be just fine on 1 or 2, you know. It's just that I like to have full information at like a single glance without me having to switch different screens and stuff. So I just do, you know, look at whatever is on there, then I look at the options levels and I'm like, okay, that's where we're at. But yeah. The DAX is a bit livelier today as well, already above the Asia range. Sadly we can't trade DAX at Topstep, but you know, if you trade it somewhere else, it looks like it tried to go higher. This is the time of day when DAX usually fails the auction. How much lower side how much downside it actually has depends on the context and stuff. Right now we still have a little bit of space to the upside, but it's not the strongest auction. It's just starting to build the third sort of 30-minute candle. It's an inside bar, and that means the auction is kind of medium strength, so it's not really grabbing me to go, hey, breakout trades. And I don't really like breakout trades at the best of times. Right, so 2 evens on RBOB is still a pain point. We have 199. That was an orientation point, I think yesterday or the day before. So those 2 are danger zones. Then we also have one that's higher up at 201. That's a new one. So 201 is a put wall. And then to the downside we have 193. And that's taken from the actual options chain. So it's not... hold on. Did we roll already? So crude oil didn't roll, but they already rolled RBOB. I just realized that. Gonna have to redo my RBOB levels. Energies markets roll every single month, so, but crude oil still hasn't rolled, so that's a little odd. I'm not sure I'm liking that particularly. Yeah, so that's interesting. All right, so the new reference point there is 222. And then we have 210 to the downside. That's the April contract. So same outlook. It will look very similar, but it's just different prices because it's a different contract. So 222.09. Excuse me, it's the morning. There's like a weaker put wall. Like if the time of day is right, then it can be a resistance, but on most days, if you still have plenty of space until you exceed the statistical averages, they tend to be overrun, and then maybe they reclaim that. But the average daily range on RBOB itself, not the crude oil, is sitting at 223.14, but I use both, right? So if crude oil is still not at the ADR high, but RBOB is, I will actually wait until crude oil reaches ADR high. That's how I use that correlation to my advantage. And then ideally you want to have an options level where the dealers, the big bad market makers, might step in. What is it, Maddie? I have one of my dogs who's sitting there and just like, And I'm like, what, mate? What do you want? He woke up very lively today. Christ. Young dogs. So much energy. Yeah, just remember Ellen Parallel Gold FX. I can't see myself in the camera, right? It's not... so I just see a camera. So generally I try not to think about how I look this morning, this early in the morning. But yeah, I've never been a big morning person, so yeah. Could I turn off the gym music and change to jazz? I don't actually like jazz. I know that I was a musician, but I was a rock and pop musician, blues as well. But jazz, I don't know. I just feel like whenever I'm listening to it, it's like I prefer something that has more. How would I put it? More cohesion to what's going on, and I always felt like jazz is too much in the alternate scale modes. Like they have the Phrygian mode, which is like coming from the classical music, and it's all just very weird scaling. And I don't know, so you're never gonna hear jazz on this stream. I prefer gym music because I used to be a Head Candy musician and a Ministry of Sound musician, but I also did a lot of rock and pop gigs, so I played with, had the pleasure to play with Rod Stewart for a couple of months. That was an experience. And and here we are now, so. Yes, it is true, Market Trader. You can find videos, because we did some gigs as well, but the videos online will be the ones when we did live stories with Piers Morgan when he was still over in the UK. And I was a part of his saxophone section. So there was 3 of us girls It was Emma, Kat, and myself. And yeah, so it was, I can't remember whether Karen, the trumpet girl, was with us as well or not. Don't know. All right. Do you ever trade an XFAs? Yes, I was actually twice in the live account, with the I do have XFAs, but what I'm trying to do now is to practice a new way of, like, especially now that we have all of these slight different rules that where you won't have the initial full capital to trade, and I didn't even know that was coming. I just wanted to make my entries and executions more stable, and I felt like while I was banking, there was too much variance. So, one day I would be up like 4 or 5 grand, another day I would be down like 2 grand, and then another day I would be up like 6 grand. I kind of didn't like that. Why? Because it's too many jumps, and I look at my performance as something that needs to be smoother. So I was trying to think of ways to minimize the downside and to maximize upside, but with a small size. So this is the experiment that I've been running now for a few days. So here's how it's going. I think it's pretty stable for now. And these were 2 very quiet days, right? So we didn't have too much movement. This was just me testing whether I can even enter a trade and on that first day. And then since then, it's been, reasonably stable. So I would like to see how it looks when I actually have a losing day, like for the entire day. So, maybe you win one, then you lose one, then you lose another one, then you win one. What would that drawdown be? Because that still hasn't happened, and the drawdown is the one that I'm really interested in. 20 trades here you see, because I've decided to start scaling into trades. So I will be doing my usual sort of 5 or 6 trades per day on 3 different products, and then I'm doing, starting on, like, for example, on copper, I would start on 4 micros, and I'm not able to do that fully to the extent that the risk model says that it's safe, because right now we have a restriction of maximum 6, but my risk model says I start with 4, and then over a certain point taken from the maximum favorable excursion on how that product moves, I will scale in up to 8. And again, the way I trade and the trade locations that I use, I am very stubborn with my trade locations, so they need to be there, otherwise I will not trade. And I think that is a power that you need to develop as a trader for sure. There's way too many people doing way too many silly trades in the middle of nowhere and just going along with anything that is moving, right? But I don't care whether it's moving. I care whether we are at the point of my interest or not. And if it's nowhere near it, and if the time of day is not right for that particular level to do what it's supposed to do, I'm just like not interested. So this is why you won't see me do too many trades. I will be on group coaching tomorrow again, and that time of day tends to be the one that I really enjoy, because I was always more of an end of day trader than anything else, and I'm a mean reversion trader, right? So when we have those conditions, I love it. And over the years, probably took me like about 10 years to get better at range trading. So now I'm actually pretty decent in range trading, so I'm no longer scared of it. Of a range day, but it took time, it took a long time, and now I'm actually pretty comfortable with it. But my god, every time I used to see an inside day, I would be like, oh no, this is gonna be tough. But now I see it and I'm like, okay, range it is. Put on my Dolby hat and then we do range trading. But yeah, so I do trade XFAs for sure. I, like I said, was in live twice. Like the first live account I held for like over a year, and then we were buying a new house, so there was no point holding that. Yeah, So second time around, it was a smaller balance, and I just really struggled with it because I kept trying to trade minis. That was also another problem. I'm like, I'm going to trade minis in my live with 20k balance, and that was a terrible idea. So I decided to kind of reset there and just go, yeah, okay, I need to think about this a little bit better. So now I'm trying to practice the new way of executions, and I can maybe use an example. I want the actual trade to appear rather than me, doing a nonsense trade just for the sake of. Actually, last week on my own channel on Market Stalkers, because I have my own YouTube, there was a live stream. So the last live stream on there, I'm showing you the MHG. That was just before they introduced. Was it just before? I think it was just before they introduced restrictions. So I was able to scale in to. Or was that the previous week? I don't know. The weeks is just flying by, and I have no idea what week it is. So yeah, but have a look at my last stream. That was end of day. So, and I will have another one today, which is at 12 p.m. Central and 6 p.m. GMT. I'm in England, so obviously I go by that. But yeah, I'm going to be doing another live stream today for the day range fill time of day. And we'll see whether we can find something. But the difference will be that I can start with 4, however, I can only scale into 5 and 6. So one pain point that I have at the moment is that when that 3rd and 4th scale in comes in, even though I know the data is there, even though I know that that's like solid numbers, I'm still uncomfortable because it slightly changes the average, and my nerd brain immediately goes, oh my god, that's not the same trade. Even though it's the same trade, right? It is the same trade, it's just with a maybe slightly different entry, and it's working. But for my own sanity, I need to spend a little bit of time just getting over my discomfort of adding to a position. And until that's solid, and until I prove to myself by passing these combines that is the proof of concept that I've lived through, and I know that I can make that work, I can't be going back to the funded level without that sort of confidence. Confidence and emotional regulation during a trade is something that is not maybe talked about enough. If you feel uncomfortable in a trade, you won't be able to manage it well because your primal brain is kicking up. So I'm trying to get my silly little brain used to just scaling in and being okay with it, and I was never okay with it. And I'm used to trading much larger accounts, and the way I do when I let's say I do a 15 lot trade, I will do 5 at one level, the initial trigger, and then typically I do experience some drawdown. So once it draws down a certain amount, I will execute another 5, and then as soon as it moves a little bit in my favor, I will pull up in another one, and then that will be it. But you can't do that size on prop and expect longevity. I'm going for longevity. I don't really go for oh yeah, let's trade as big a size as possible so that our risk of ruin is in the billionth percent. And you're always dancing on a thin line where the next trade could be it, like the nail in the coffin. I don't trade like that, so I want to make sure that I use the power of micros. That's another problem of mine. I've been in the industry for 19 years, right? And we didn't have micros back then. And I was doing micros in the same way that I was doing minis. It's like, oh yeah, it's just a smaller size, the end. Not really realizing the power of them, and that's just me being super old school and Granny D here. And just going the same way that it's doing exactly the same thing that I used to do on minis, which kind of defeats the point of having power to scale up, right? So I started thinking about this with this huge variance that I was seeing in the metals when I was trading them, and I'm like, I gotta find a better way to do this. It's bothering me. It was keeping me up at night. So I'm like, how can I make this a little more stable? How can I minimize downside, maximize upside? And then I had some ideas. Stop it, Manny. Enough. Well, otherwise you go outside. You're being a bit annoying right now. I'm gonna give you food after the stream, okay? He's just sitting here. Manny is sitting here and moaning. And he's going, Yeah, that's you. That's what you sound like. Did you not know? He does this only on some mornings. I don't know why. I suppose he went to doggy school yesterday, so he might be starving. And I typically feed them after I finish the stream with their duck fillet jerky breakfast. But he's obviously woken up a hungry boy, and he's licking his lips. So that's the universal dog language of like, I'm hungry, I'm hungry. But he's gonna have to wait. So yeah, anyways, I am training myself to be okay with scaling in, which is my pain point. It is my uncomfortable point. So I need a little bit of time, to live through those and just say, okay, it's still uncomfortable, but I kind of know that it works. So that should provide more confidence and emotional stability going forward, so that I will know exactly what those trades look like when I scale in at a slightly higher point than my entry, which is, the thing that bothers me. And then I just let it ride. I don't really overmanage my trades. I'm very good at holding my trades, and even here, not too much data, but you can already see that my average win duration is already 76 minutes. And so. But we've had some quiet days, so obviously I'm shooting for 2R multiples, sometimes 3. Yeah, so this crude oil is starting to base here. It's starting to, how did one of my traders put it? It's demanding. I was like, what? He's Australian. And I said, it's doing what? He said, creating a demand. So you're calling that it's demanding. It means something else. What is it demanding? Yeah. All right. So, Balance says, not gonna lie, blew my combine board again for 1,500. Yeah, it's a bit expensive, that, man. I mean, you can do that if you're well capitalized. Just don't do it if you're, struggling for cash and stuff. Just do another combine. What's another 2 days? Just look at it as training. Look at it as failing the nationals and then needing a little bit more practice before you get back to the next qualifier. That's the way I look at it, right? That's why I need to just use my strategy that let me pass in 7 days with 0 drawdown. Yeah, exactly. That's what we're talking about here. Yeah. I've seen Dakota trading gold, started gambling the account. Yeah. So be careful with us. People have seen me trading silver. People have seen Coach Jay trading gold. Dakota trading gold. And you see, 4,000, 6,000, 9,000, 30,000. And you're thinking, yeah, I want that. But don't compare somebody's chapter 20 to your chapter 2. Remember that all of us who are working with Topstep, we all, like, Dakota looks young, but he's been trading for 16 years now. He's not a novice trader. Like, if he wants to size up, he knows his setups. And, same thing with Coach Jay. Coach Jay looks like a kid, but he's not. I look like a kid. I'm mid-40s. I've been doing this for a long, long time, nearly 2 decades, man. So, when we decide that we can wrangle the volatility of a product, it's a little bit different than somebody who's only been trading for 2 years, 3 years, even 5 years. I would say that that's still very new, because you haven't had a chance to experience multiple different events and market conditions through like slow times, market conditions through extreme volatility times, market conditions for COVID when my crude oil went negative and then they suspended it. And then what? If I only had crude oil, I wouldn't have anything to trade, right? So this is why it's always good to have, 2 or 3 products that you get familiar with over time and not all at once. So hone your skills on one, and then once you're pretty solid, start looking at something else that's a completely different asset class. So don't go from like, NQ and then I'm going to trade ES. It's still an equity index. Familiarize yourself how the commodities operate. And they can be ultra crazy. I mean, commodities can go completely insane for extended periods of time, which is what we've seen with metals. And why every prop firm is freaked out. We've seen, 2 prop firms that now have restrictions. I think that's the right call, you know, letting people to blow accounts left, right, and center. It's great for the firm, you know, but whoever's criticizing us for modifying the max contract so you can trade, I mean, they still allow you to trade 2 microsilvers. You shouldn't even be trading 1 microsilver unless you have a bare minimum of $17,500 balance in your XFA. So, you know, you do something that is outside of the market risk and you don't have the balance to back it up and it goes wrong. What happens? You lose the hard work that you generated over the last, you know, week, a month. Some people ruin work for 3 months. Why? Because you want to trade silver. It's like, and you want to go in with 2 micros because that's what you do. Yeah, 2 micros on silver is a hell of a lot of cash. It is not a true micro. It's $5 a tick. And on a product that currently has an average range of 2,200 ticks. So if it starts to wag around, first of all, you using a smaller stop size is not going to save you. Why? Because you're going to be whipped out in seconds. So you have to allow the stop size that is not going to get you out of a trade as soon as you click a button. You don't want it to be like Hopper McTilt moment where it's like, we're in! We're out. Wait, what happened? Where's my trade? That's my character Hopper McTilt, which is a grasshopper who doesn't really know what he's doing, and yet he's ultra confident that he can make it work. It's a puppet, right? It's a puppet that I sometimes reference here. I like my puppets and the grasshopper hat, and we're not going to be putting that on because I spent time on my hair today. Topstep putting lots of restrictions too, not good. I think it is good, guys. I think it's great. Like, think of it from their perspective. If they were really just after your money in the combines, would they really place a restriction on you? Come on. And for those people who are like, oh, well, I've earned the money in the XFA, it's funny money. Do you realize that that's not none of this? Like, okay, go to AMP Futures, right? Open up a demo account. Trade some cash and generate 100 grand in there. Then go to Dan Culp and request that Dan, the CEO of AMP, pays you out that money. Put it in the real world. So what do you have at Topstep? Topstep was extremely generous to give us the full balance in the beginning. And you know what they got? That full balance comes from their own cash reserves, okay? It doesn't come from a demo account. You've proven that there is a performance there. You've proven that you can make money. And now they're giving you a portion of that and saying, okay, try not to blow this. Right? I don't think that's a bad thing. And I think the ability to go down to the XFA sim when you're underperforming, that's not going to come in when you're already losing the 20% of the assigned capital. It's going to come way before then, right? You lose 30% of that and the shoulder tap XFA is going to come in. So they're not going to allow you anymore to just blow up spectacularly in a day or 2 or 3. They're going to be like, hey, why don't we go back down to an XFA stage? Let's just, keep it a little bit more reasonable, and then you can get back up to like that. That was never an option for those of us in live. You were either struggling, for those who are struggling, or some people just blew out in a day or 2. Like they got into the live account and they decided to trade silver at the time when it was super volatile. How long did they last? 1 day. Is that really what you want? To do all that work and then just YOLO it in the live account for whatever reason? It could be fear, it could be pressure, it could be whatever it is, right? And then you blow out. So now they have a different structure. Now they're like, listen, we'll give you 20%. But if you listen to Kevin yesterday, Kevin said that 20% is not just like, oh, that's for everybody. If they see that somebody has been working on their XFA for 3 months and they built up the balance, they will give you more of that capital. So it's not just like, oh, it's 20% at the end, but it is a basic rule. However, it's still discretionary for the risk team how much capital they will unlock. And that's always been the case. Like back in the old days, you would be with a normal prop firm, like the old school prop firm, in office, all that. You would do a simulation for a month if you had no track record that's verified. And then they would be like, okay, so now we're going to crunch the data, right? And then we're going to decide what money you start with. So that was the old way of doing things. And I would argue that there was a better way rather than, and then there was a huge disparity with the amount of funds. Some people were getting in there with like 20 grand, other people were getting in there with 400 grand, some people get in the live with 2 grand. And, that's still a little unclear why they would put somebody in a live account with a very low amount. Maybe because they trade super micros. Maybe they trade, a micro crude oil. So naturally they won't be building up to 5, 10K over the space of a day, but rather it would be like less. So if that's the case, then yeah, the capital needs to be reflected in that. But at the same time, I do think there should be some kind of a threshold for live. That's just like my opinion. I'm just an on-air personality. I'm not a part of the risk team or anything like that. I'm just another trader, even though I'm a little bit more visible than you guys. But yeah, so this copper is looking a little interesting here. Because it's starting to fail the auction. I just don't know how much movement we're actually going to get. Maybe RBOB would be a better choice. Or maybe crude oil. Crude oil is pretty stable these days. Let's try a crude oil trade. I haven't done a crude oil trade in like an absolute forever. And I don't know whether that's going to be the correct size, but let's try it. Whoa, yeah, that's a lot of But yeah, let's just try this continued auction to the downside, and then we can have a look. But yeah, the new rules, I actually really like them for the reasons that they won't allow you to blow up so quickly, and then you can maintain the live status even if you start to struggle. So they basically give you a redeeming XFA, shoulder tap XFA, when you get into a drawdown, and then they go, all right, well, let's get back to live, because now you've regained your composure and you're in live. You don't have to do back to combines, back to all of that. So see the other side, right? This is not a bad thing. It is designed to keep you in the game longer, to keep you in the live account longer. So let's just focus on crude oil here. So yeah, for now they've created the single print. So we finished the second TPO period, basically a second 30-minute candle, and they've left the single print behind. That is generally a stronger auction, so base drop, and it does look like they are trying to make a new low on the session and on the day. And at the same time, we're going below the previous day NYMEX session low. So now we need to see that pick up a little bit of speed. Not too much volume at this time of day, but crude oil does sometimes move. Yeah, so says someone say Justin says I'm still a newbie of Topstep, 6 years trading solo, just heard a lot of stuff yesterday about people being upset. I'm not hating, I'm still learning the platform. Yeah, so the whole chatter you hear, people love to hate on prop firms. Right? Why? Because first of all, we forget that prop firms are first and foremost enabling us to have an opportunity that was never there before. Before, if you wanted to learn how to trade, plow in like $2,000 of your own money, right? At the very least. And before, I think it was more like 10,000 for futures. There wasn't this like, oh yeah, just put in 500. That wasn't a thing before. So you needed to have 10 grand. Then you put it into a real account, right? Not prop firm, real account. And then make all the mistakes that people make to blowing up and everything. So how many times can you blow up on your own 10 grand before your cash runs out? Ask yourself that question. And then we got Topstep. Topstep came up with the model. I've been with Topstep in some shape or form for 10 years. I got to meet the team when I became their first female funded trader, right? That's how I got to meet everybody. And then over the years, we did content together. You know, I was one of the guests back when we had Squawk Radio. And then we kept in touch, you know, Eddie, Hogue, MP. We were all, you know, still there. But then Topstep TV was created, and, you know, Hogue actually reached out to me, and he was like, hey, do you want to do Topstep TV with us? And I was like, well, what is it? And he goes, it's like Squawk Radio, but we're all going to be on video. And I'm like, oh God, really? Okay. And here we are, 200,000 subscribers later, guys. It's absolutely amazing. But yeah, so don't forget that the prop firms still allow you an opportunity that was never there. They allow you to pull money from a demo account, effectively. And it is really up to them to decide how much real live capital they're going to assign to you based on that performance. But it's not real money. You know, this whole madness that we've had from COVID, where you can pull money out of a nothing account based on performance alone, because it's not money that you make in the live markets, is it? It's funny money, right? It's money coming from a whole bunch of other people. And that's the name of the game, right? Even in the live markets, you can argue that you're always taking money from somebody else who is having a bad day, right? So don't be all like holier than thou moment. We're all in the finance industry. Otherwise, you wouldn't be doing this if you're like some person who's like, oh yeah, but this is not right. Yeah, many things in life are not right. But you want to be a trader? Just accept it. It's just, you know, how it is. If you have a problem with that, then maybe this is not the industry for you. Oh yeah, but you know, money from other people, failed combines and all that. That's not your problem. You know, the problem is don't put the responsibilities of a person who is maybe not willing to learn and not willing to journal, not willing to put the work in, and then using them as their failures as an excuse of why you know you shouldn't be doing this or that. It doesn't make much sense. But yeah, so prop firm model is a good one because of the high failure rate. We know that, right? I'm kicking things around the office. Great. Why is this here? All right, so the second point is, you know, financial industry is not a charity. Never has been. And then I saw some people asking questions like, oh, I don't want to journal. I find it like really off-putting. Great, you want money? You're going to have to journal. I'm sorry, just no sympathy there. Okay? And then the third one, you know, I keep blowing up combines and XFAs. Can't seem to make it work. I can't hold on to a combine longer than 2 days. Now, I do the VWAP coaching here as well. And when I ask the question, well, how long do you spend in your combines? Oh, like 12 hours. 2 days max. You know, I try to get... That's your problem. Because you're not training yourself for consistency and longevity. You're training yourself to get there as quickly as possible. Nobody in the industry has managed to create consistency and longevity with that approach. No one. It's always risk first, smaller size, build up, and then carry on, right? And all the while, keep practicing. As soon as you notice something is off, you keep practicing and keep practicing and keep practicing. And then go back to the funded. Keep practicing. This is why you will see all of us periodically go into a combine level, because maybe we identify. I still journal, you know, and maybe my journaling is not as detailed now because I know my playbooks, I know my setups, but you know, I've noticed this huge variance and I was like, this is not right. Like if I'm going to sort this out, I need to sort it out now rather than 6 months into the year. And I want to get used to my brain being okay with this new execution. You won't be doing that in a funded account. That's stupid. You don't train yourself by signing up for, you know, for like a huge qualifier event and then just turning up to the qualifier without actually practicing at all. And as musicians as well, you don't go do a concert unless you've done like at least 2, 3, 4 weeks of rehearsals. You don't just all rock up to the venue, never having met the people you're going to work with, and just go, right, Maggie May, yeah, let's go. You practice, you rehearse, you know, even like, again, I was a part of very high profile gigs. Even the high level musicians were coming in to rehearse. Yeah, what the hell does Rod Stewart need to rehearse for? You know, he's been doing it for what, 50 years now? he doesn't need to rehearse. Was he? Yeah, he turned up to every rehearsal that we had, every single day for 2 weeks. For 2 weeks, whole 2 weeks, rocking out. So think about that when you're like complaining about, you know, rules and restrictions. Restrictions are there to help. If they didn't care, they would not put restrictions. They would just be like, you know what, just stay in a combine like forever. But they also have to think about the risk management for the firm. They can't have people going into live and blowing out in one day, because that is their real money. That's their company capital, right? And frankly, I was surprised that they were allowing people to get into the live accounts with massive balances. I was like, what are we doing here, guys? But now I'm actually quite pleased to see that Topstep might get a lot of stick for this now. But as a result, they will still be here. Like, they will be here 10 years from now, 30 years from now, hopefully. It's going to be all of us going, hello, welcome to the Intraday. All of us being 75 years old and still trading, you know. That's what I plan to do. But you don't create longevity for yourself as a firm or as a trader by being reckless with your risk. This is the bottom line, right? And, you know, I know that, again, people love to hate on prop firms. But what would you do without them? You'll be blowing up your own funds and being absolutely miserable in the process. Just saying. You know, you want to go back. Do you want prop firms to go away completely? Is that what the moaning is about? Should we just all shut down and then you can go and learn on your own account? You can always do that. Nobody's stopping you, okay? You can always put money in your own account if you're unhappy and see how it goes. But I promise you, at some point you're going to be back. Because nobody can learn on their own funds. It's too expensive. It's too expensive. And prop firms solve that. So whatever changes they're making, they're still doing us an amazing amount of favors to be there for us when we do falter and then when we do make mistakes. And then we learn from mistakes. And that's the whole point of the program. It is there to create consistency, to tell you that this is not the way to like full port silver and then lose everything in the flash of like a blink of an eye. That's not the way. It's not the way. It's like, what is this? Mandalorian. Let's move on. So this crude oil is so far doing okay. So now we are making a little lower low. It is a slower product these days. So, you know, I'm just going to hang on. But yeah, so far it's looking not too bad. We have 4 minutes until the end of the next TPO. And really, I would like the speed to pick up. We do have a little bit of volume that is showing signs of life. But again, at this time of day, it's all going to be a little slow. We need to be patient. I don't freak out in a trade. This is why I can hold my trades forever. So yeah, we're just gonna watch it together as it's creating. And actually, let's put a fixed range volume profile on this one. Right, so value area is now created at the very bottom. This is a good thing for now. So if it starts to kind of spike down, then come back into the value, and then create the value area slightly higher, that would mean that we're kind of slowing down with the auction. But at the moment, we're sitting below the point of control, which is this little red line. Don't know how well you can see that, but it's like the middle of the middle. So we're below the middle of the middle. That is an okay thing for a short. And let's just hold on and see how this happens. What indicator am I using that gives you the different market highs and lows? That is my own indicator on a different platform. It's my concept of using effectively the ATRs in a different way. So I use the visual representation of the ATRs, and I can show you that just quickly. We're not going to dwell on it. Dwell. But we're not going to dwell on it too much. But here it is. This is these dashed lines, ADR high, green lines, ADR low, and they will move with. So this one will come down as we start to make lower lows, it kind of re-evaluates and then tells you at which point when we start moving higher, it's going to exhaust the range. Now, this kind of dynamically tracks until one of these lines are hit, and then it stops trailing. It just becomes static at that point. Now, the other side can still move, but it's a very good indicator of how much statistical space you may have for the product. So the best setups are actually the ones that come from those areas as mean reversions or reclaims of the statistical highs and lows. But it is my concept. I am the originator of using effectively the averages as levels, especially for particular times of day. And then I went one step further to create average session range, high and low. So that is just my concept. If you hear anybody talking about average session range, high and low, just know they're a market stalker. They're one of mine. Because nobody had that concept. It came out of my own need, because I wanted to know, especially on days when we go into an early exhaustion of the range. So let's say Asia opens, it already smashes through the ADR high. So I'm like, well, now what? That was the question that I had to answer for myself. So I kind of banged my head about it for a few months. And then I thought to myself, well, if I'm using ADR for 24 hours, why not use it for regular trading hours or any active session at the moment? So I was like, okay, let me see if I can write an Excel spreadsheet. That's how I started. I was an Excel spreadsheet queen. So I would be exporting tick data at the end of every day, and then I had a formula in Excel that would spew out these levels for me for the next day. And then I was tracking it manually. So the way it looked is I would be like, okay, so we opened midnight, then I put a line, I'll put a line here, and then I will put half of it there. And then as we started making new higher highs and lower lows, I will be taking my measuring tool and going, well, where is the exhaustion now? Okay, now exhaustion is here, so that's how I used to do it, right? So a lot of time wasting, a lot of diddling around, and just doing stuff that was taking me away from looking at the actual market. So when I was able, I commissioned a software developer who was actually a friend of mine at the time, and he worked for a very big bank, bulge bracket bank. But he was kind of getting tired of the whole corporate world, and he was looking for another thing. So we joined forces eventually, and that became Blatek indicators, which are now used by thousands of people around the globe. But at the moment they're only still, because we're European, we're from the UK, right? At the time when we started with the indicators, it was 2015, and we decided to go down the route of offering professional suite of indicators for independent traders. Now, at the time, that was MetaTrader for Europeans. Everybody was using it, so we remained there. We are now working to expand that to other platforms. But for the time being, we do just have like our Discord utility server where you can grab these. And you can find that on my YouTube channel if you wish. Not forcing you with a stick, just saying if you want to know where the exhaustion points are without having to do any further work, that's where you go. So you don't, and that's what I do. You know, I look at one thing, I look at the levels, and then I plop them here. So I grab the price, and I put them in Topstep X, because at the moment we can't do custom indicators on Topstep X. If we ever get the custom indicators for TSX, we'll be bringing our Blatek indicators to them, whatever power we can use to basically get the all of our stuff, or at least the very basic ones. You know, some of the more complex solutions that we have, we're not even sure we can do that. What does LON mean? London, mate. London. It's the London session, right? This is the London session now. And we're going to have the London Metal Exchange open at 11:40, which is in about an hour and 10 minutes. But yeah, I do think that next week we're going to be changing the time of the show, so be ready. Because I don't really see too much point spending time in this this period of the day, because we don't have Eurex, and these streams were supposed to be me covering DAX and Eurex products, and that never came. So now we have to adapt. And there is the London Metal Exchange. I am a metal trader, you know. Yes, I trade energies too, and that's like my two asset classes that I excel in. But we're going to be looking at London Metal Exchange, probably from next week. Again, don't quote me on it, but for now it looks like it's all heading in the right direction, finally. Chris says, no D, they're paying out way too many dollars on the SIM portion. I disagree if you think that's the case. Because there are some numbers that are kicking around, and trust me, they're not. Yeah, let's just carry on. Let's just say the Topstep's not going anywhere. But they do need to make some changes on the live side. You know, SIM is fine. It's the live traders that have kind of messed it up for quite a few people, because they were irresponsible with their live accounts. They were just like full porting in a day, and then just now the risk team are making changes, and rightfully so. Like I would be even worse, man. I'm the worst risk manager you can possibly have. Trust me, you don't want me as a risk manager. Let's just put it that way, because I'm very strict. Dominic says, I like Topstep, trade with them, but just be honest, don't try to blindside with all of my BS. Yeah, okay, so don't watch the stream then. What are you doing here? If you've just woken up and chosen verbal violence. So, and we deal with these kind of hilarious comments who are only minded from the point of a trader. You're taking away our money. We're not taking away anything. It's not real money, okay? They are doing that to allow you to grow. So if you have a problem with that, what are you doing here? Why are you even watching the stream? I don't get it. Okay? All right, we're getting that nice tip below. And yeah, so just think, if everyone traded professionally, where would the money come from for the payouts? The live account! How about that? Imagine no SIM. A world with no SIM. In a world with no SIM accounts. Where does the live money come from? It comes from trading the live account. And here is the problem with the whole industry today. And this has happened in the last 5-6 years. This has not been here like from like, oh yeah, 30 years ago we could get payouts from demos. No, it's a new thing. And now we have a whole breed of traders that are asking a stupid question like that. Where does the money come from if there's no SIM payouts? The live market. That's funny. That's really funny, guys. Really funny. And what of the live? 1%. Why do you think that is? Because guess what? This is a tough job, man. And it's like being a professional footballer. Do you think anybody kicking the ball can play for an actual football team? How many people become professional footballers? What is the percentage? Of all the people playing football in the world, what is the percentage of people who actually have it to become professional footballers? Why is it that people who are, you know, effectively not wanting to work on their skills as traders, and they have no other skills to transfer to trading? Why do you think that, you know, they complain about, oh my God, what do you mean I have to journal? What do you mean I have to look at data? What do you mean I have to control myself? I don't want to control myself. I just want to click buttons. Guess what? That's not what a pro trader is. So if everybody traded professionally, we wouldn't need any combines, because nobody would ever lose money. We would all go straight to the live account, and we would just never lose too much cash. We would manage our drawdowns perfectly, and nobody would ever blow up their hard-earned kids' college cash, right? It's not the reality, man. I'm sorry to burst your bubble, but I'm Gen X. I don't care, right? We grew up in a world where nobody babied us. Nobody was telling us how great we were, even if we participated in an event. No. If I participated in an event and I didn't win, I would be unhappy. My dad would be unhappy. And he would tell me how much I suck. So this is where my mentality comes from. If you suck at something, get better or stop doing it. It's just... You know, and now we have a whole breed of people who have grown up to schools. I see you, I understand. And you've been told how everybody gets a trophy because everybody participated. That is not the reality of the world. I've actually hired people who were younger and whose idea was, well, I'm starting this new job and I don't have any experience or anything, but if I can't make 300 grand in 1 year, this is not worth it for me. And I'm like, okay, well, do you have connections in the industry? Do you know? No. Right. So are you somebody who's in cybersecurity? Like, have you worked in no. But it's not worth for you to spend time honing your skill first and maybe making 40, 50 grand for the first 2, 3, 4 years, and then grow in your career to 60, 100, 150, 200, 300, 500,000 a year. So that's not in your that's not on your bingo card. And they're like, yeah, I mean, it's just not worth it. So this is all a product of everybody trying to be super inclusive of the people who have been going to school and given things just for, like, if I failed at a sporting event, like, because I was an athlete when I was much, much younger. I was a kid, actually. And I would not get anything for failing. If you weren't top 3, you didn't get a medal. You didn't get, an advancement to anything. You didn't get accolades. You didn't get anything. You were just like, well, you failed. Can you do better next time? And, if you don't have that sort of mindset, I would argue that it will work against you in the industry that is extremely competitive, super stressful, very difficult to make any sort of headway without a massive amount of practice, self-control, dedication, and effort. It is going to be hard for you. I feel for people, but it's just not the reality. You don't get anything just for being in a combine. You get something in this job for being consistent, for managing your risk, for managing your emotional control. Then you get something. You get rewarded for it. But people want rewards for reckless behaviors, gambling behaviors, and then they're complaining when it all backfires and the companies go, actually, no more free candy, man, because this is this is not on. People are taking advantage of what we're trying to do here. So if you have a problem with that, this is probably not the stream for you. So I don't even know what you're doing here. Goodbye, Dominic. There we go. Yeah. Marksman, yes, they are making money. Do you want a company that's not making money on the side to run the show because they don't know what they're doing? Is that like, what kind of a comment? You guys, what are we doing here? Come on. Yeah. Patrick says, you look so pretty when you're smiling. Keep smiling. How can I keep smiling when we got these kind of comments, man? Like, it's not funny. Like, it really is not funny. And some people, I swear, they just get up in the morning so they can come on and switch on any TS stream or any Topstep stream and just start bashing. And it's like, come on. Anyways, the crude oil slowing down a little bit, so we do have a bit of a buying wick here. We still have 18 minutes until the end of the next 30-minute TPO. And so we're gonna wait for that, and then that will be it. How do I get bid-ask size to show up on the DOM? That is a matter of the add-on for the level 2 data. Now, please note that that is a paid-for additional add-on, and it costs $34 a month. If you are over in the UK or EU, it's going to be another 20% for us in the UK because we have to pay VAT, so it's like sales tax equivalent. But it is $34 a month. However, don't buy it now. Buy it on the 1st of the next month because it's the CME data. It has nothing to do with Topstep. They just pass on the fees. So basically, what happens is that CME renews data every 1st of the month. So if you are purchasing it now, you're only going to get until the end of the February before they charge you again. So just keep that in mind if you want to buy level 2. But yeah, this is the full depth of market. So this is the full order book. And on crude oil, you get like 100 up and down. On some of the other products, like let's go to copper, you only get 10 up and down because it's, you know, it's not as popular of a product. But for the major ones, you know, for the ESs and NQs, we get 100 up and down, and also crude oil. So GC, I think it's also 10. Yeah, GC is still looking terrible. Nobody's trading that. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, just don't go rushing to buy it like halfway through the month, because you don't want to pay twice for level 2 data. Mark's saying, love Topstep, not hating at all, give all day education, doing the most for the community. What other firms are engaging with traders like this? I mean, most firms have some form of education. You know, it's not like we're the only ones, but we started it, right? We were the first ones with Topstep TV, and then others figured, hey, it's a great idea. Let's provide some more value for our traders. Nothing wrong with that. I fully applaud and respect. So yeah, I like that we have all of these like trading channels now, and they are dedicated to creating content specifically for futures traders. We were missing that. Justin says, I'm 6 trades since Monday, 100% win rate. I'm a high school dropout. Yeah, I mean, listen, having university does not equate to being a good trader at all, trust me. I've met some PhD guys who, a lot of them actually, who don't have any alpha. And I'm like, well, what do you do? And they're like, well, I've got to look at the data. It's all about equations and the Gaussian distribution. And I'm like, yeah, that doesn't quite work that way. And like, have you tried? Yes, I have an algorithm. How's it doing? It's not making money. Okay, so why don't you just like spend time observing how the price action moves? No, it's all about the equations. I'm just gonna, and I'm like, you know, this is sort of math, but not really, because there's a lot of events that are outliers. Like, how are you accounting for those? Oh no, there's equations, and they just would not accept anything. I had a big argument with one of them actually, and he wasn't generating alpha, and yet he was like banging on about it, and he was probably the biggest gambler ever, man. Like, he would have all of these equations and everything. He would come to the office with a book, and I'm like, what is that? And he's like, oh, it's all of my projections and everything, and analysis and macro and all of this, and then something starts moving. And he would just go like you would see it on his face as well. It was hilarious. He's like, and he would be in, right? Complete nonsense trade, nonsense everything. And I'm like, what is happening? And then angry, he would come and argue with those of us who had an up day, because he would be like so angry. And that carried on, I think, for about 3 months, and then we never saw him again. So yeah, being educated highly, having PhDs, it does not equate having alpha. Alpha doesn't come necessarily from strategy. Strategy is arguably the easy part. How you control yourself in a trade, whatever your background is, and whatever maybe some issues that you may have suffered outside of it, that maybe doesn't transfer onto your trading. So, it doesn't. I mean, in fact, we've had so many people who are very successful in the banking world with big addictions, right? It never stopped them. And I'm not saying it's the right way. I'm just saying it's not necessarily a hindrance at all. And that's the beauty of trading as well. You don't need school to make it. As long as you understand the basics of, the risk model, the drawdown, risk per trade versus risk per day. That's another thing that most people don't look at. If you look at your return and your drawdowns, so how much do you win on the day versus how much you lose on the day, that's a form of risk reward per day. So if that doesn't match, that's also not going to be, the best thing for you, because it means that you lose more on the losing days, but you don't win quite enough, whatever your accuracy per trade is, I don't care, right? But if you can maintain the winning days to be bigger than the losing days, that's what it's all about at the end of the day. And it's not that complex. It's like remedial math. The fact that I'm going a little bit further with my executions and stuff, that's another thing altogether. Here I'm just in with one CL because it just doesn't move that much, and I'm not going to be entering multiple positions on micros just to get like, maybe 30 ticks out of it on the day, because that's too much. There's too much risk. And I'm also very aware that I'm going into a trade when the sustained auction is kind of on the way, and it's going to take time to reach at least the average session range low. And I would argue that my my target here is a little bit too big, all the way down to ADR low. So yeah, because of that, I'm not doing the whole, let's do the 4 micros and scaling, because you're working with $1 range on most days on crude oil. There's no space to scale in safely. And then it whips up back the other way. So you're like, I need something that will move away from my entry and then keep moving away. And then even if it pulls back, I still have space from my final entry for that pullback. Does that make sense? So that's why I'm practicing that. But I'm just doing that crude oil trade because it looked the best out of all of them. Yeah. What the heck is this crown thing? Oh, it's just a YouTube thing. Don't forget about it. I don't know. They rank people. It's a YouTube thing. It's not a Topstep thing. It's on all streams. They're ranking people by the amount of comments that they post. And, what's funny is that you will sometimes see us we're all moderators in the chat. But obviously we have dedicated people such as Bruno who take care of us and make sure that the chat is clean, effectively. We'll have the crowns. It's like, #1 fan of Topstep is Coach Hoop. Or #1 fan is Marcus Dawkins. And that's because we answer a lot of questions and stuff, but it's stupid. Like, I don't know what YouTube are doing. And this whole thing of them changing the handles to the actual usernames, who came up with that? Because I felt it was so much better when I could actually read a person's name rather than, Chris Joachim 1664. Oh, God. All right. Chris says, so I'm up 200 on 2 of my combines that I'm trading, and my wife was down 300, and she asked if I could build hers up a little bit. Hers is down 500 now. That's funny. I wouldn't be able to trade with my husband. We tried. It wasn't good. He kept trying to like scalp and stuff. And he comes from the banking world, not a trader, but he worked with traders. He worked for like front offices and stuff. But yeah, it just didn't work. And then I would try and explain what I'm doing, and he would get so annoyed. So we stopped. I'm like, no, you do your job. Well, I'll do mine. Let's not talk about trading, because it's not good for us. All right, come on, Crude. Don't be rude. It's so slow at this time of day. This is also another reason why we want to change the time, because there's not too much happening, and everything starts kicking up usually around 11, just about the time when I'm finishing the stream. And then, we have the London Metal Exchange opening, we have the overlap, we have that volatility increase throughout the whole thing, and yeah. Oh, you're Cryptofish, I see. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so you chat here all the time. Weird. Saint MZ says, point flew over my head. I'm now full port. When do I get paid? Oh man, that's funny. Yeah, I do love chat. Like, most of you are so awesome. Obviously, we have the isolated few that are that wake up and choose verbal violence. But most of you are super cool, so very funny. You know, you really brighten up my day. It's awesome. All right, crude oil, crude oil. I can't believe it suckered me in. It suckered me in, guys. Trading crude again. Hoop won't be happy when I tell him. I was like, nah, I wasn't crude. And look at RBOB. RBOB was moving like a million ticks, while this one. So let's measure this. Let's measure why D trades RBOB usually. So since the smash lower, we're looking at a move of 118 on RBOB. What are we working with? Same trade, right? Same trade idea. And here, the biggest drop was 23 ticks. This is why I don't trade crude oil anymore, because it sucks. All right, you know what? I'm losing my patience with crude oil, so I'm going to just kill it there. And now that I've seen that, I am a little annoyed, so I need to go and chill out, especially after my little argument there with our friend, whatever his name was, already forgotten. Yeah, so I'm going to take a big break. I'm going to come back probably for 3 p.m. my time. That's 9 a.m. Central. But yeah, don't forget I do have my own live stream on my Marcus Talkers channel if you want to see me trade the end of day, which is my specialty. And let's hope we've got some movement. And in the meantime, I'm going to end the stream here. So let's see what the day brings post NFP, right? So it might be a hangover day, might be pretty interesting. It looks like metals and energies are having a bit of a moment. And yeah, equities yeah, so ES is a bit horrible. That looks pretty ugly. So does NQ. So yeah, it's not looking like the NFP is the catalyst that we needed it to be on the equities, but maybe metals. So micro copper is looking awesome at the moment, and RBOB is looking pretty good. I think natural gas is waking up as well. It's well above that 320 level, so that could be something to consider. So here's Natty. It's trying to pick up speed, and we have some volume coming in as well. So yeah, I think I'm going to be energies focused today mainly. And that's all I have for you today. What is my channel? Just Market Stalkers. I'm Market Stalker D because of that, right? I stalk the markets, I'm stubborn with my levels, and I have a channel that accounts for that. So Market Stalkers. And there used to be more people as well. So we used to have a girl who unfortunately died on us from very young from stomach cancer. She was supposed to be like my co-host, but it just never happened. And then I tried to get my other two collaborators to come on, but they're very camera shy. And I tried to get them to do voiceovers. They don't want it, so they're like, yeah. Yeah, 3 p.m. is 10 a.m. But I'm going to stream from 1 p.m. Eastern. I'm going to be trading, probably, maybe a trade or two before then. But the stream is actually going to be happening for the COMEX and NYMEX settlement. So I'm going to be starting that at 1 p.m. Eastern. That's 12 noon Central. And 6 p.m. GMT if you're over in London. So I will see you then, hopefully. Check it out. It's a little bit more relaxed and you will see different charts, but I will be dragging Topstep packs down into the view as well. And yeah, so if you can make it, great. If not, also great. I will see you tomorrow for group coaching on Topstep TV as well. You can't get rid of it. Anyways, this was the Eurotrade. I'm Marcus D. I will see you very soon. This has been Topstep TV. Let's see what the day brings. Take care.